Here we have a couple of brake calipers that have seen better days. They're oxidized and dirty, and if we look on the inner side, we can see that the pistons are in really bad condition. They're cracked and large pieces are missing. The metal covers have broken and the dust boots are cracked and torn. And worst of all, the pistons have seized in the bores, which causes the brakes to stick. In this video, I will show you how to easily restore these calipers into fully functional condition again and make them look like new by using a minimum of tools. Let's start with removing the pistons. An easy way to push them out is to apply compressed air in the brake line connection. First, make sure the bleed valve is closed to avoid leaks. To get an airtight fit with the air blow gun, I used a small piece of rubber hose. With a one piston caliper, the piston can be pushed out in just one blow, but since this caliper has two pistons, one has to make sure they pop out at the same time or one of them will be stuck. This can be made by pushing out the pistons in several smaller steps. Insert some kind of support to catch the pistons, leaving about 10 mm gap to the pistons. Apply the air, and when you hear a popping sound, you know that the pistons have moved out. Now repeat the process. Well, here's what happens when one piston pops out before the other. Not to worry though, just put the piston back in using an ordinary screw clamp and repeat again. There we go. Now let's improve the looks of this thing. I didn't really like the dirty scruffy look of the calipers, so I wanted to grit blast them. But before the blasting, the fittings had to be protected. I also kept the old pistons in the bores for protection. On these calipers, the brake line fitting was the same size as the bleed valve, so I used this to plug the hole. For the grit blasting, I built a cardboard blasting cabinet. It was quite messy and awkward, so I'm not sure I would recommend it, but the result turned out quite okay anyway. After removing the pistons, the remnants of the dust boots and gaskets should be removed. Just pry gently with a screwdriver under the steel ring and it will pop right out. Now just gently scrape off the oxidized material without scratching the bore. Blow off the dust and now it's ready for cleaning. I used engine degreaser and a nylon brush to clean away all the dirt and gummed up brake fluid. I had to scrub quite a lot to get everything out. And after rinsing in water, it looks pretty good, don't you think? Now it's time to mount the new hardware. Piston seal gasket, dust boot and new pistons. Start with the piston seal gasket and soak it in brake fluid. Just pour some in the cap of the bottle. Now put the seal in the bore and tuck it into its groove. Make sure it's seated properly and that it's not twisted. Continue with the piston and soak that in brake fluid as well. Push it into the bore and try to make it sit straight. Now use a clamp to push the piston in. The clamp should be centered on the piston so that you get an even pressure. Make sure it goes in straight. It's a tight fit, but you shouldn't need to use any force. When you feel it's seated, remove the clamp and continue with the dust boot. Usually, you can easily tell which direction to mount it. This type should be installed with the small metal tabs facing inwards. Just put it in the flange and push it firmly into place. There we are. Now it's just to repeat this with the other piston. And here's the finished caliper, as good as new. Thanks for watching.